Hello everyone, my name is Loco, and welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. Now what I've got for you today is a best of 5 of Zerg versus Zerg. We're in the bottom left-hand corner. We're looking inside of the main base of Serral, and his opponent in the top right, playing with the blue Zerg pieces. We have Solar. This particular best of 5, it was played during DreamHack Dallas, and I've heard that this is a very good example of a high-level series of ZVZ. Now these two, they famously played against each other before, in quite a few series actually, but most notably, Solar managed to eliminate Serral out of one of the biggest tournaments that we had a few years ago, and Serral at that time was on absolute fire, not really losing anything. Of course now, we're a couple years into the future, and ZVZ has certainly changed. The problem is, right, here's the thing with ZVZ. Players get better over time, and therefore a lot of the early game aggression becomes harder to pull off. Because everybody gets better over time and everybody can defend better, we do see a lot more mid-game coin flips. A lot more, I'm gonna try and hide this structure from you and cross my fingers and hope you don't see it type of strats. When both players are incredibly good, it feels like taking a chance by, for example, well, hiding tech or, well, cutting a certain round of unit production, for example, that sort of strategy becomes way more popular. And I've been very impressed, especially by the Korean Zergs, when it comes to that sort of playstyle. I think a few years ago, you could make the argument that the Korean Zergs were a little bit overly aggressive, and players like Serral could simply win by playing more rigid macro. But I think a lot of the Korean Zergs have caught up in that department, and they have been able to play, well, straight up macro really, really well in this matchup too. And it makes everything a little bit more difficult, especially for the European players, because, well, the Koreans certainly still have some of that craziness in them, right? You will not be too surprised, I don't think, if Solar decides to go for some sort of like Nidus all-in or like a quick Spire play, something along those lines. Whereas for somebody like Serral, that is a little out of the ordinary. Now, I haven't seen these games, so I'm not exactly sure what to expect, but we'll have to find out together. So far, though, it's a very normal opener by the both of them. Hatch gas pool, just to stay alive. Serral leaving 2 drones inside of the gas geyser. Same right here for Solar 2 on the other side of the map. You can see some perfectly mirrored production tabs over here. Look at that. New Olympic sport. Oh! Oh! Serral ruining it. Ay. Yeah, it's because Solar decided to save up some minerals there for a slightly faster third hatchery. Already, though, Serral also has one coming up right over here on the other side of the map. Solar and Serral sound very similar in my mind. Sometimes I'm trying to think of what I just said, right? I tried to retrace the sentence I just finished, and I'm trying to figure out whether or not I said the correct name. But sometimes I call the wrong player by the wrong name. Solar and Serral, very similar. Very similar. So if I start calling one player the wrong name, I will try to not do it, okay? But in a match like this, Solar versus Serral, it sounds almost identical when I try to think about the sentence I just finished. Anyways, it's going to be a baling nest here for the both of them. We're making little wall-offs here at the front. Tokamak is one of the new maps, of course, that recently got introduced. And I think across the board, it's actually pretty normal. Nothing all too crazy. Nice map to start things off. But here's one of those threats that we see a lot more from the Korean players than we do from the Europeans. It is a hidden evolution chamber. Now, not super weird. You don't really have to go for an all-in. Apparently, we're going to go for the +1 missile with this. Fair enough, so I don't think this is going to be too aggressive. Serral tries to get a scout and does run in. He runs, however, in the wrong direction. Zergling died close to the ramp anyway, so he doesn't see anything. And that's a scout that now has been denied successfully, right? And it means that Serral doesn't really know exactly what's going on the other side of the map. He's hiding a Roach Warren of his own, but he's still droning. So this is not really going to be a super committed push, I don't think. He could make a couple of roaches for defense, but it now becomes a little bit of a guessing game. This is one of the things, though, that Serral is still better at than any other Zerg. Extremely good at scouting, and generally also very good at denying scouting from the opponent. All of that is to be said, though, that Serral is now making a whole load of roaches, and it looks to me like he actually wants to test the waters a little bit. So Solar cut a corner here, decided to go for a faster Evo. +1 missile is absolutely massive if you end up finishing it in time for a Roach War. If you have the exact same number of roaches, obviously it's much better. Nice catch over here by Solar. He sees 1 or 2 of the banelings morphing in. There's already a Baneling of his own here too. Good pullback. Excellent control here so far by the player in blue. But does he have the numbers? Well, there is droning on the back of this for Serral, so he's not committing to an all-in or anything like that. We have the Baneling hunting down as many drones as possible, does not quite catch it. Queens pulled away from their hatcheries too. No creep though, connecting the natural and the third base. Then again, nice target firing here by Serral. Slowly but surely, Solar is getting enough reinforcements out. That roach over there does die. But nicely managed here actually by Solar. And this is something that I think is really good to see, right? So back in the day, we used to not really have this back and forth in Zerg versus Zerg. It was a lot more committed aggression. These days, it feels more like a tug of war, where both players make a couple of units and then they try their best to get some damage in, but we're droning on the back of it and we're slowly increasing our economies. At some point, of course, we are going to have to see some big fights. But for now, everything's okay. Now, Solar does have that upgrade advantage at this point. But one thing he doesn't have is a lair. And it's starting to feel a little too committed for my liking. Yeah, Serral now sees the lack of workers over at the third base. Serral just went for a lair of his own. He has, well, got reasonable saturation over at the third. Solar, of course, has the +1 attack advantage. This is going to be an extremely committed attack, and one that Solar needs to be dealing damage with. He's got the numbers advantage. Serral, of course, does spawn the reinforcing units significantly closer to the battle. Corrosive Bowels are rained down on top of the spine crawlers that are still morphing in. The positioning here is not bad, though, for the finisher. Banelings, okay, decide to run into the spines, too. But you can really tell that the +1 attack upgrade has kicked in, right? I mean, those units in blue just hit way harder. They just seem way beefier. Nice corrosive bile, but good dodge by Solar. And upon seeing that, Serral decides to tap out. Okay, real quick, just to show you the strength of upgrades. On the left, we have 50 roaches. No upgrades at all. On the right, we have 50 roaches. They have +1 missile. That's it. Let's let them fight to the death. If you're a roach lover, maybe close your eyes for a little bit, but in general, upgrades in StarCraft 2 are huge, and I feel like it's one of those things that is actually quite difficult to explain in the middle of a game. So maybe just visualizing straight up engagements like this will make it a little bit easier to follow along. The units in blue simply deal +1 damage for every single one of their attacks. For some units, actually, they do get more than just the +1. But look at this. This was a single upgrade difference. And out of the 50 roaches, like 40% of them stayed alive. Which is massive. And that's just for 100 minerals, 100 gas. Long story short, though, upgrades, good. No upgrades, bad. The only problem is that, well, you have to obviously buy the time and then spend the resources, too, on actually finishing the upgrade. So there is an argument to be made, right? That the higher you climb, the more precise macro becomes. And therefore, the extra drone that you lose by making that Evo chamber and then the 100-100 that you have caught up in those upgrades is also going to be too expensive if the opponent plays perfectly. It really depends on the size of the map in particular. Like if the map is a little bit longer, it takes longer to get across. I mean, most of the map sizes are mostly standardized these days with a rush distance of like, I don't know, like 32 to 36 seconds or so. That is sort of the norm. But if we have a very short map, I can imagine that, well, first off, we would see a lot more cheese, but upgrades in general are much more difficult to actually get done. And you might want to have, well, no Evo chamber and have that extra drone instead, and then spend the money on like 2 additional roaches. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how to do upgrades in real life. When I upgrade my +1 melee, dude, whew, I'm gonna be an absolute monster. I've been trying to research my carapace for a long time. In StarCraft 2, it doesn't seem to do anything about the life expectancy of a unit. I guess there are ways to get +1 in StarCraft, or in IRL rather, but yeah, comes with a whole host of other issues. Okay, so by the way, if you're interested in checking out the unit tester that I just used, it's called the Advanced LOTV Unit Tester. It's something along those lines. If you search for that in the arcade, you can have different units fight against each other. You can actually do some micro practice too. I believe in that particular custom game, you can invite somebody else into the lobby and actually just fight battles over and over and over again. So if you struggle at micro, It is a very nice tool that you might be able to make use of. There's a couple of them. There's also a more basic version called LOTV Unit Tester. For that one, I do know that you can actually invite other players. As far as I'm aware, they automatically update with balance changes and all the rest of it. So even though I think the custom maps have been long abandoned, those two in particular, but the balance changes still seem to be applied to it immediately, which is actually kind of neat. Anyways, we find ourselves on Incorporeal right now, game number 2. Both players once more opening up with very standard build orders. Slightly quicker third hatchery here for Solar. Slightly faster droning here for Serral. Nothing all too weird. Baling nest? Yep. Baling nest? Ah. Okay, apparently we don't want to make it over here. Don't know what's wrong with this site, but Solar really wanted it on the other end. Fair enough. Doesn't really matter all too much. But that's the strength, though, of hiding an Evo chamber. So will we see something like that again? You're always dealing with limited amounts of information in a game of StarCraft 2. And if you can sneak out an upgrade like that, you might just be able to catch your opponent way off guard. Okay. So far, though, nothing all too weird here. But yeah, that's a great example. Like, I feel like that first game is a great example when you have two really good players going up against each other. Margin for error is absolutely tiny, and it does become a little bit coin flippy, right? I wouldn't say it's like a Hearthstone level of coin flip. It's no poker game, but there certainly is a chance that if you can get away with a quick Evo chamber and get an upgrade going and your opponent doesn't scout it, well, they might just not be prepared. Solar once more goes into a +1 missile, and we have effectively a carbon copy of what we had in the previous game. This time around, Serral sees it. Okay. In the previous game, that scout got denied. Ooh, really nice Baneling detonation over there, though. Great work here. Yeah, Solar's looking strong. Denying scouts can be difficult. Zerglings tend to be really slippery. I don't believe Serral is going to be able to confirm the kill on this third, but he's going to try and bruise it. Or Solar rather, is going to be able to secure the kill over here. Okay. Ultimately, you can tell, though, that Serral has lost quite a bit more stuff. Add to that as well the continued aggression over here, and then also the amount of drones. None of this here is particularly bad for Solar. Now, Serral has seen what he went for, right? So he's seen what Solar is building up. Does he realize that this is a near carbon copy of what we had in the previous game? Because I don't believe he really checks out replays in between matches. Generally, you're not given enough time for that sort of thing. Okay, a little bit of a Baneling dance will indeed continue. 2 Banelings for 2 Banelings and a drone. Okay. So the key is to make drones up until a certain point. In the previous match, I think we saw Serral sitting at 50-something workers, like maybe 58 or so, high 50s. Solar was sitting on like just enough for basically only 2 base saturation. So Solar is doing the exact same tricky build order twice, which I think across the board is not that strong of a play. I think doing the exact same thing, I mean, if it's not a broken strategy, maybe don't change it, but now Serral has played against it once before, and he's going to be able to try and counter this. So what has Serral done? He's gone for 53 workers this time around, started making a ton of roaches already. He went for a lair. Did he cancel it? No, he did not cancel it. He decides to go for +1 missile. And I'm assuming when we feel safe enough for it, he'll probably go into the roach speed upgrade too. This now effectively allows him to make the exact same units as the opponent, but with way more stuff. Like, his income is going to be significantly bigger. So this is the income per minute over here in the top left-hand corner. He's going to be able to squeeze out like an extra, what is it, like 5, 6, 7 roaches or so for every minute that goes by. Has he overdroned up until this point? Well, this is Serral we're talking about, so I'm imagining he hasn't. Always difficult, though, to really judge. Queens, of course, also nice. We do have spine crawlers on the back of this, too. Concave here, heavily in favor of the finisher. +1 missile is still strong, though. Yeah. No. Those Banes are not going to achieve too much. It takes Banes, or 2 Banes, rather, to blow up a mineral line like that. Still, though, yeah, maybe the upgrade is good enough. Spines are here. Reinforcing roaches do show up. And even though this is an extremely narrow defense so far, I think it is that. Like, this is a defense in the end. And ultimately, not a single drone was killed here with this particular attack, even though a lot of them were bruised up, and that could have been an absolute disaster. Serral holds there with a narrow defense, but a defense that is certainly good enough. Look, these couple of Zerglings have just achieved more than the entirety of that Roach army. I would have loved to see a couple of those Zerglings actually sneak into the mineral line when these guys were still at 1 HP. Obviously, drones will regen HP over time. Now, the one thing that I don't really like here for Serral is that he didn't go for Roach speed yet. So, he cancelled. Yeah, so this is one of the things that he tried to cut. He did go for a lair, couldn't cancel that anymore. But he did cancel the +1, and he did not start up Roach speed. Meaning that during all of that, he was really just producing 0-0 Roaches. And even though the defense was, well, very, very skinny, right? It was very, very narrow. He now doesn't really have a way to retaliate. If he would have had +1 and Roach speed done, I think it could go across the map right now and actually do a lot of damage. Ultimately, even though the defense was good enough, we now have, well, the Roach speed happening on the other side of the map. I think we can see a +2 start up here as well for Solar in a little bit. We could even see like a Spire or something along those lines, although Serral has seen the lack of a gas over here, so he knows that that is not going to be the case. Solar is actually given a lot more freedom than I think he's supposed to. I would have actually liked to see Serral like cut like 2 more workers and go Roach speed, so he could actually go across the map. Right now, we're ultimately giving the Zerg player in blue so much wiggle room again. Alright, instead we're going to see some multitasking. We'll probably see a big push across the map together with a good old Overlord drop. Over's here. Sneak straight through all of the bases. This is Serral once again doing his due diligence, right? Making sure that there is no hidden structure. No quick infestation pits, Nidus worms, Spire, Hydra den, Lurker den, all the rest of it. What we do have though is a good old tunneling clause. So Burrow has started up, +2 has started up. Yeah, we're just playing a straight up game now. You would imagine though, after not taking any damage from what is effectively an all-in, you are very far ahead, right? But Serral has basically decided that nope, he doesn't really want to be ahead. He's okay with being even after a fight like that one. Yeah, it's very nice of him. Maybe a little bit too nice. Solar basically getting away with murder here. Okay, well now he gets to play Solar that is a straight up macro game against Serral. Margin for error is still absolutely tiny. Obviously though, if Serral can navigate this into a victory from here, right? A very dominating one, that would be amazing. Because that is going to set the tone for the rest of the games. He's patrolling the Overlords around to make sure that the corrosive biles of the Ravagers can't just go in. A couple of Roaches waiting in the main base. Dude, Solar is on point. Very impressed with the crisp execution of Solar so far. I feel like that's one of the things that people always used to criticize the Korean players for. They have mellowed out a little bit with the craziness at the highest level. And they have worked on their macros, it seems. And it's, well, working out wonderfully. Whoa, big jump here by Serral. Sees an opportunity, immediately grabs it with both hands. That Ravager is going to fade away. Not really a ton of damage done, though. And keep in mind that corrosive biles are pretty easily dodged. In the meantime, what we can do is do some Overlord dropping of our own. Nice work right here by Solar. In the meantime, Serral has unloaded one of his balloons on the other side of the map. Aggression all over. Big fight happening over here still, which is where both players are keeping the majority of their attention. Tunnel Clawed Roaches have now made their way towards Serral's third. Main base, okay, did get cleaned up. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, that main base, I mean, it's in a little bit of trouble as Serral decides to tunnel those units around. Hatchery falls. Woo, okay. That's a fantastic snipe right there for Solar. Dare I say it, guys, I think Solar is outplaying Serral pretty hard so far in these games. I mean, at this level, the difference is extremely marginal, of course, but Solar is playing a phenomenal set of games here so far. Now, he is going for a Spire follow-up. I don't know if Serral has seen it. Yeah, he has seen the spire building, but obviously the question is, did he click on it? Because when he had vision of it, there was about a million other things going down. We did, however, also have a Hydra den built, so I'm assuming here that Serral did see. And this is still a very playable game, of course, here for Serral. It's not like he is in a massive deficit, but when you're playing defensively... Look, whenever I see a mirror matchup in StarCraft 2 in particular, I pretty much always favor the aggressor. Because being the defender is just way, way harder. Mutas are coming, 9 of them. Serral's going into Hydras, though, and that might just be a saving grace. Although I can imagine the Mutas are not just going to join into the main fight. This was some good control here by Serral, forcing the units in blue to back up. The corrosive biles are going around. Another little roach counterattack, though, in the meantime. That explains why the numbers are so heavily in favor of Serral over here. Softening these units up is nice. The real question is, how well will the Mutalisks be handled? We have a little roach counterattack over here. We have an overseer confirming that indeed the spire was not cancelled. Hydras have now joined in, and that's what the roaches are targeting. Fight going on still on the right side of the map too, and that's, well, not a lot of Hydras in this area just yet, but... Okay, Serral does grab the kill over there. Spore crawlers have already come up. I think Solar needs to go away from Mutas pretty much immediately. Any damage done at this point is nice. Serral burrows the drones after losing just one. Using the Mutas right here for map control and sniping Overlords and Overseers, I think is the best case scenario. I think that's basically all you're gonna get. Targeting the individual changelings too. Man, these guys are playing a bagger of a game so far. They're very quick. It's funny, man. Like, when you watch a lot of StarCraft, I feel like at some point you become numb to everybody being so ridiculously fast. But pretty much all the pro gamers at this point in time, they play at like 400 or 500 average actions per minute. It's so freaking fast. Okay. Fight over here is still looking good as well. Should we switch to some first-person view? This is what Serral is looking at whilst playing this match. So he's obviously also effectively trying to spend as much time looking at the mini-map as possible. It's very easy to let one of those fights slip through the cracks. You want to always have one eye, preferably, pointed at the mini-map. Now, as far as I know, none of the pro gamers have been able to get a bionic eye that actually allows them to look at the minimap. And Serral does take a really good engagement over here, it looks like. Solar, though, backs up, does not want to go too far down the ramp and play himself around this corner over here. That would not really give him a way to retreat. I didn't really like the Mutas very much initially, but they have done a very good job just sniping all of the vision. There's still a couple of them around the map. But if we look here at the vision of Serral, I mean, it's still looking pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think it's actually that bad. But if you compare it to what Solar is capable of doing, technically, if he decides to send the Ovies out, he is gonna have a much easier time. Although Serral also has a little hit squad of Hydras and an Overseer that has been going around trying to just snipe any burrowed units, any Overlords that might be in position. So little hit squads of units like that. And, well, because the Overlords have now been killed, Roach run-bys that have already been very annoying are now likely going to be even more frustrating to deal with. Although Serral does see this one coming in. He's got a little changeling that has spoiled this plan here from Solar. As the main armies are still dancing, Ravagers looking very exposed. Ooh, I would not have minded seeing Serral actually jump that. Honestly, this is an extremely Ravager-heavy army. 14 of those bad boys in total. Serral does have only 5, and I think I like the number 5 a little bit better here. A lot of supply caught up in those Ravagers. Fight over here also looking pretty stellar for Serral. Okay. First person view for Solar. This is what Solar was looking at while playing the game. He's probably playing with the Korean voice back, but other than that... Let me take control of the camera again, as we have a flank upon a flank upon a flank. Both players trying to sandwich each other. Serral, though, as well... Wow, I like this. Sniping the Roachborn is absolutely massive. He's managed to now shove his entire army towards the other side of the map. Killing Solar's Roachborn there is massive. Solar, yeah, has no way of remaxing this right now, and he's taken a couple of shaky engagements. I loved his position earlier, but Serral is a very dangerous man. And just like that, we find ourselves on Ultra Love. The Roach dancing is done, at least for the second game of the series. But there's a good chance the dancing will continue. Yeah, fun fact, StarCraft 2 Zerg players, whoa, phenomenal in the club. You should see them go. It's incredible. Then again, Zerg players don't really need to practice that much, right? Because they're overpowered, is what I've been told. So they probably have time to go out on the weekend and, you know, actually take dancing classes and all that. I think that's how it works. Anyways, Solar, interestingly enough, going for the triangular expansion. So he's going for the base right over here. Whereas Serral has gone for the horizontal expansion. That's crazy. Honestly, generally speaking, right, in StarCraft 2, the Zerg players will pretty much always choose to expand away from the opponent. Solar has decided to expand in the direction of the opponent, which I guess gives them a safer fourth base, if he needs that later on. But this is, generally speaking, a little bit more uncommon. A whole lot of Zerglings coming up, by the way, for Solar. Quig Roach Warren also hiding behind the natural expansion. So that explains the positioning of this hatch. It's little things like the larva, right? So the larva will pop over here on this side, rather than if he would have made the base over here all the way out there. If you want to go for an aggressive opener, having your larva positioned in the direction of the opponent, so the unit's travel distance is a little bit shorter, is obviously beneficial. I'm assuming here we're going to see Solar rush out a whole lot of roaches as soon as he has the option available. Baneling Nest coming up. Serral wants to return the minerals first before making a Roach Warren over there too. He does have enough gas for about 5 Banelings here when he sees this attack. He will likely not make too many Banes just yet, although Serral has now scouted that indeed it is a really quick Roach Warren. And that means that once more, the finisher is forced into a defensive position. I don't know why Serral always navigates the games in that direction, man. This is it's so freaking hard to play defensive ZVZ. Because the game is moving so quick. But he's purposely guiding the games in that direction. He's got a whole lot of Banelings waiting on the high ground. Roaches are going to be going across right now. Let's see. So Banelings obviously can kill roaches, but it takes a lot. Yeah, Solar actually just backing up right now? Is that what we're doing? We've gone for this attack. Oh yeah, Serral has made a ton of units in the meantime. I find it a little risky though. Gets a good pin right here against those roaches, although only about one side of each of them is surrounded. Using the bridge to his advantage here is Solar. The Banelings are mostly just dancing, trying to make sure that the Zerglings in blue can't engage too much. Okay, and now Serral is overmaking Zerglings. And when you overmake Zerglings, you have to counterattack immediately after the, well, defense is done. He's morphing into low HP Zerglings into Banelings. They will spawn with full HP again. Okay, trying to get the wrap around. These roaches in blue are going to have a hard time escaping. Zerglings are doing a pretty good job, but roaches are still not to be underestimated. Yeah. Ultimately, that was some, well, very aggressive movement right there by Serral, getting the wraparound of those units, and he just kind of stood his ground, but ultimately the roaches are just getting tickled by the Zerglings. And these bad boys have done a pretty good job, tanking damage, but then ultimately not dying. Traits certainly in favor right now of Solar. Doesn't sound very significant, because the absolute amount of resources is not that big. Like, if we look at the resources lost, it doesn't really matter that much, but it is mostly when the economies are small, right? If one player is making pretty much the lowest tier unit, and the other one is making one that is a little bit higher. Zerglings versus roaches. It usually will benefit the player with the higher tech a little bit more. Absolute chaos over here, but good defense. Okay, well, Serral did sneak out a Roach Warren of his own. He made that, of course, a little while ago already, before that first engagement, only just now, making the transition towards roaches of his own. But there's now 16 roaches available for Solar, and the ones that were previously fighting, they have regenerated some of their HP. Given another minute or so, they will be back up to full. And I think Solar should be able to defend whatever pretty easily. Serral's decided to go for 2 more gases. Neither player brave enough to put down an evolution chamber or a lair or anything like that yet. Yeah, and this is where we start playing Lair Chicken. It's a little minigame that Zerg players like to go for in this matchup, where it's basically a game of chicken until somebody starts up a lair. You can't really scout each other anymore at this point, so the lair becomes a bit of a gentleman's agreement too, where like you don't make a lair, and then I don't make a lair, and then nobody makes a lair. The lair is a big upgrade, and obviously roach speed is massive, but if you commit to it too early, well, you will have less roaches. So you can only really go for a lair if both players decide to go for a lair, or if the economies are big enough where you can actually get away with it. Yeah, if the opponent is making non-stop army, which is effectively what Solar has been doing now for a long time, if Serral would have started up a lair right now, he would probably have to cancel it, and then you also lose resources. Maybe more importantly, you do lose a bunch of time too. Okay, Serral does have an 8-worker advantage. Yeah, he doesn't want to waste corrosive balls on like a half HP Overlord. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. A lot of Zerglings looking for the wraparound. Banelings, though, are positioned in such a way that the Lings are going to have a hard time. Okay. Serral trying to funnel those Banes through this army, too. Nice targeting there by Solar. There's only 1 Baneling that now remains, and that means that the Zerglings are really going to hurt. Solar hits the opponent in the face with a really nice attack. Most of the roaches are still around for Serral, but I see many of them in red HP counts. Solar still able to clump all of his units together, decides to cancel one of those Ravagers. Reinforcing Zerglings coming out for both players. Of course, defender's advantage here for the player in red. The Cocoons are simply closer to the battle. One of the Ravagers is going to get biled down, and it's ultimately just to force a bile there out of the opponent, meaning that it's not going to go into the army. Queen tries to transfuse one of the roaches. Man, these fights are so ridiculously close. Everything's like 1 bile away from being a disaster here for Solar, but I think he's just barely inching out an advantage. Then again, though, he's kind of stuck between 2 bases now, right? He does have the top of the high ground, so that's nice. There should be enough vision, though, for Serral to not really lose the plot here too much, but he's got a bunch of units from his 3rd base that are bleeding out straight into the combat, and that now allows Solar another point on the board. And that now means that we are at match point. Solar has got an opportunity to wipe Serral out of this series, and with it, well, wipe Serral out of the tournament. Okay. Do we do anything, though, with that knowledge? We've already gone for some cheeky openers. Nothing really hyper-aggressive. But right now would be the time to maybe experiment with something a little bit more, acquired. A little bit more of like an acquired taste. Let's see. Now, both of these guys ridiculously good, though. I feel like that is just one of the themes so far. Both of these players are incredibly in sync. And it's kind of fun, too, because neither of them will really compete on the same server. So, Solar, he will play on the Korean server. Serral will play on the European server. And since this matchup is so cutthroat, you can kind of practice the other matchups cross-server with like 150, 200 ping. It's kind of doable, but ZVZ, not really something you want to play with a ping of more than like, well, 80, I guess, preferably, if you have any say in the matter. So, Serral will be doing most of his practice from the great country of Europe, whereas Solar is doing the exact same thing on the other side of the planet. So, ultimately, apparently, both parts of the world, though, have come to the conclusion that this is the way to play the game. And it's very, very similar. Obviously, they're looking at each other's replays, right? Like, whenever there's games available, we will certainly be studying it. Then again, ZVZ, not really a matchup that we see all too frequently. It's quite rare, actually, these days. Now, Serral is scouting around. He hasn't seen... he checks the follow-up scout. That's so smooth, man. So, Solar thought he was clever. He put down the Roach Warren after the Zergling scout had gone through the natural. Serral decides to go back down because he was still available. Okay, he did fake an Evo chamber there too. So Solar is going for an all-in. Solar is going for an all-in. He knows he got scouted, but then he decided to show his opponent an evolution chamber to, like, make Serral believe that this is actually a macro game and that Solar is not going to be attacking until the upgrade is done. Queen a little bit further forward here, though, for Solar, and he's going to pay the price immediately. Brenda is dead. There she is, dude. Look at her. I don't know what that was. That little swirly thingy. She had, like, a tentacle coming out of her corpse. Anyway. Spinecrawler coming up. Serral has recognized what's up. He decides to cancel his own Evo chamber there too, as he already had made a Roach Warren. Zergling Scout goes into the main base. Did Solar see the Roach Warren? He did, yeah. So he did know that the opponent probably has the advantage in that regard. He's still doubling down. Solar only on 36 workers. He is trying to see if he can end this series right here, right now. And this is a difficult attack to hold, but if anybody can do it, I would say it's Serral. Banelings, though, have to be on point. Spinecrawler is already available. Trade of the Banelings is fine here for Serral. So much damage being done, though. Zerglington Blue run away, but they decide to re-engage. Not the way that those links should have gone down at all. Little bit of a mistake right there from Solar. Drones, though, still are used to soak up some of the damage as they tank a few of those road shots. I think this is a hold. This is looking like a hold to me. Solar is still sending out more units, but I think those Zerglings going down to the Baneling may have been Serral's saving grace. Keep in mind there's no +1 upgrade advantage like what we saw in the previous games. So Solar doesn't have just more powerful units here. Whew. Man, that one little Baneling at the top of that mineral line. Solar microed it, but sometimes the units magically re-engage. They're like, you send us this way? Perfect, we'll go that way. Right after they've reached their previous path. It's a lot to manage in those fights. Good hold for Serral. Very good hold for Serral. And during all of this, he has had a small income advantage. So every minute that goes by, he's just getting slightly more stuff. And more stuff tends to beat less stuff. He's now spending that stuff on a lair together with the +1. Making some additional drones too. Now, Solar is pretending like he is macroing on the back of this. He's not. Solar is not macroing on the back of this. He is making more of the same units, hoping he's going to be able to catch his opponent off guard, as Serral is spending his advantage on, well, those upgrades that is highlighted and then additional workers as well. If Serral also holds this incoming attack, he's going to be in a phenomenal spot. Solar needs to deal some sort of damage with this, because otherwise he is going to very quickly bleed out after this engagement. So let's see. A little bit of deja vu from the previous fight. This time around, though, the Zerglings dart towards the bottom. Banelings are once more hunting Banelings. Spinecrawler over there does get sniped. Corrosive Bile. Serral, not paying attention, does take a big ball to the face, and a lot of those roaches were kind of clumped up and derping. Queens come out from the other expansions too. Another Corrosive Bile does connect with a clump of roaches, but I think Serral may just have had that upgraded, or sorry, the income advantage for a little bit too long. And it allows him like an extra 5-6 roaches or so. He did, by the way, cancel the +1 again, and he also did... Oh, actually, no, he did not cancel the lair. He did let the lair finish. He did cancel the +1, though. Much like what we had in the first game of this series. Okay. Close calls. Very, very narrow defense. I think you go Roach Speed. I feel like Roach Speed right now is a no-brainer, so you can actually put on some pressure. Yeah. Glial Reconstitution. And that is not an upgrade that Solar is really going to get going anytime soon. Solar still at Hatchery Tech. And now it's getting a little bit desperate. Now it's getting a little bit desperate, where Solar effectively needs to kill his opponent very soon. Like, he needs to get this job done really soon. If he doesn't, he is just gonna get out-teched. At this point, Serral has an upgrade advantage, Serral has a tech advantage, Serral has an eco advantage, Serral has, well, almost an army advantage too, although in that regard, we still are waiting for a couple of the roaches to pop out of their cocoons. Solar has one shot, one opportunity to seize everything he ever wanted. One moment. I don't think he's gonna capture it. Spoiler alert, maybe. Oh. No. I think there's just vomit on his sweater already. Oh, well, I mean, those Zerglings are getting a really nice wraparound. If the Lynx can get a wraparound, and then the Biles in the middle can always be nice, but the Biles were already on cooldown. Biles have been sent towards the Spine Crawler instead, but Solar decides to GG out because there's no way he's going to be able to break this Zerg. And that means it all comes down to this. Torches is going to be the final map in this best of 5, and look at that, a cheeky little Overlord kiss. I mean, more like a smooch on the cheek, but still, you love to see it. Torches is a pretty interesting map. There's, of course, these bases on the right and then also on the left. There's a giant healing circle all the way at the 9 o'clock position, although I haven't really seen anybody make good use of that, if I'm being honest with you. Either way, what exactly can we do here on this map? Third base starts up for the both of them. Serral immediately has a couple of Zerglings over here being a nuisance. Overlords going all the way around the map though, and scouting out all of the details. This is actually kind of suboptimal for Solar. I don't really know why we have 2 Overlords scouting effectively in the same location. He has seen the opponent's third, so I guess he's fine with it, but I'm pretty sure this is the type of stuff that Serral looks at. It's like, bro, are you even trying? Like, why are your Overlords in such garbage positions? Oh well. As long as Solar sees the important stuff, that's nice, right? General rule of thumb, in case you're wondering about ZVZ, like where do you position the Overlords? Generally, you want to spread at least like 3 to 4 Overlords on potential attack paths. So, the Zergling lives because of the healing circle. Serral was a few seconds late on Link speed. He was already queuing the Ling in that direction. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Well, it's the first time I've really seen it being used for anything effective. Either way, generally you want to position Overlords on the attack path. Not too many, because later on, of course, there will be anti-air. So when Hydras come out, Mutas come out, Corrosive Biles come out, you definitely can expect the Overlords to start falling. So you don't really want to spread every single one of them, but having a bunch out on the map is good. So Serral is scouting over here the right side of the map, he's scouting the left side of the map, he's scouting the middle path as well. So he's got vision of all the important paths that are leading to his base. He's not going to be caught off guard against any cheeky run-bys. If you compare that right now to the vision of Solar, I mean, there's a giant hole right over here on the entirety of the left side of the map. You can, of course, use Zerglings for the same job, but it's a lot more proactive, right? It takes a lot more effort. Lair coming up here for Solar before the opponents. Serral's still sitting at hatchery tech. Serral does have a Roach Warren of his own right now. 49 workers. Are we actually going to commit to, like, a lot of Roach reduction from here? +1 missile is already coming up for Solar, too, by the way. It feels like Solar is getting away with a lot. Solar has gone for a quick +1. He's gone for a quick Lair. Serral needs to try and punish him soon, because if he's given another minute or two, Solar is just going to have better units. Where you're effectively both making the same stuff off of, well, 49, 48 workers. But Solars have an upgrade advantage. Maybe even worse for Serral, a double upgrade advantage. That would be a disaster for him. Solar right now, though, put into a position that we haven't seen him before in this particular series. It's early game aggression from Serral. Quite a committed push. Serral decides to back up. I don't know, dude. I do not know if I like the backup here. Look, this is the big difference between Solar and Serral. Solar does not cancel upgrades out of panic. So maybe that's why Serral decided to move across the map, tried to see if he could maybe force the opponent to cancel the +1. Solar did not bite. Solar let that +1 upgrade finish, and now he's gone for the Roach Speed upgrade too. I think he's going to go across the map for certain when that upgrade is finished, because he knows that the opponent doesn't have a lair. He's seen it when he already had gone for a lair of his own, and he's going to get confirmation of it right now. Yeah, he now will know that there is no lair available for the opponent. It's only just now about, I don't know, like 90% of the way done. That means that he's going to have several minutes where Roach Speed is going to be an upgrade for him and not for the opponent. Solar decides to go into a Spire from here too. That's a risky one. That is a little bit of a gamble. I mean, it's a calculated gamble, but still a bit of a dangerous one. Because if you're Serral right now, do you really go Spire? You know you're playing catch-up? A Spire play is not really a catch-up type of play, you know? Anyways, here we go. Solar does have roach speed finishing up right now. Suddenly, the units in blue are going to be a little bit quicker. He's got to pretend that he's going for a fight. He's like, oh, let's fight. And Serral's like, haha, I got the concave. But Solar is not really going for a fight. And now Serral might be thinking, oh shit, I've held it. I'm so freaking good at the game. This is why people call me the GOAT. But it turns out, they were all deceived. For another tech structure was made. I mean, we do have the fires of Mount Doom close by too. Alright, Spire is just about to finish up. And this could be a problem for Serral, who's normally extremely diligent with scouting. Oh, he's actually seen it. Never mind. I take it all back. Serral has seen the Spire, but he has not really prepared for it yet. He's going for a big shove of his own. Serral does currently have a 30 supply advantage, which is massive. But none of these units shoot up. So technically speaking, Mutas should shut this down. Serral is purposely going for this attack, and he's hoping that he can cross his fingers and, well, not have his opponent's Mutas destroy his army too quickly. We have a Hydra then on the back of this right now. Serral actually purposely not making that any sooner, really putting all of his eggs in one basket. Roaches are just trying to force their way up the ramp. The idea is to kill the roaches in blue and then deal as much damage as possible. We have a couple of the units splitting off from the main pack, going after the drones. Serral wanders up the ramp here. Roaches, of course, are going to be the weapon of choice for defense right now for Solar, as the Mutas are chipping away at whatever they can hit. Serral is sending in more and more reinforcements straight through the center of the map. And now a Hydralisk Den is also done, so he starts producing the ranged upgrade for those troops. Zerglings split themselves off from the main pack. They're going to go after the newly made 4th hatchery. Serral does not have one of his own, and a lot of the units here do start running low, but he's killed the 3rd, and soon he's going to be able to kill the 4th base too. A sick gamble here in the final game of this series, but I think it has paid off for Serral. A big counterattack with units that don't shoot up, but they have bought enough time to kill 2 entire bases worth. Solar did evacuate the majority of the drones out of there, so that's nice at least. 3rd hatchery gets cancelled a 2nd time around, and now Serral is cooking up something special, and it's called the Hydralisk. Yeah. What do you do now if you're Solar? You had all the time in the world. You had all the advantages. But now you're hoping for a blunder. And that is not really something Serral was known for. Like, we see some of the top level players. Yeah, they can blunder. They can make little mistakes. Serral does make mistakes from time to time, but at this point it would require a massive one. I don't think Serral is going to give the opponent a whole lot of wiggle room anymore. He's probably going to wait until the upgrades are done. Speed is nice for the Hydras, +2 is nice for the Hydras and the Roaches. We're not even going to give him that much time, apparently. This does make this attack a little bit dangerous, though. Yeah, he's got the Hydra speed upgrade, so at least he could always retreat. Mass Roach can still be scary. I would not mind it if Serral just sat back here and decides to max out. I think he just max out, and then you push. Okay. Solar in the meantime. Okay, he does snatch a couple of Zerglings for his troubles. That's nice and all. Solar, though, is just mostly trying to stay alive right now, and look at the supply count. Brilliant attack right there by Serral. He saw the Spire, he's like, perfect. All I need to make is roaches. It feels really counterintuitive. But it is a brilliant strategic play in the end. And now the numbers just don't lie anymore. The army has arrived on creep, and Serral is just stutter-stepping his army into that army in blue. GG gets cold. And just like that, it is Serral who obtains the victory in a very good series of StarCraft. Absolute banger. Hope you enjoyed watching it. Now today, I want to give a special shout out to the biggest Patreon tier right over here on the right side. Thank you especially right here to Blue Hair, Grimdy, Beinsturk, Thort, Jovo, Champ, Brusik, Patrick, Gavilan, Andy, Sysadmin, Lightswitch, Lucas, Ballistical, Killman, Robert. We have Jacob, Echo Soldier, Rextor, Shren, Papucha, Garen, Kremler, Strategist, Dustin, Naku, and Doomhome. And also shout out to everybody in the scrolling list right over there on the left. You guys are awesome. Appreciate you.